problems, politics involved, everything like that. But you've got to remember what the core value is, which is what you believe in and what you want to achieve in the end goal, and keep setting yourself targets. So when I came to Canada,
I'm proud to announce a partnership with two companies, King's Fightwear and Unity Underwear Co. Both of these companies have top-of-the-line apparel, both in combat sports and comfort. I can't wait to show you guys more of this, and you can actually use the code DREAMER for the special edition of MMA Journal Canada, issue number 7, the Dreamer Edition. Check the code and check the link in the bio. Thank you guys so much, and I want to thank the sponsors again. Thank you. Honored that you're speaking with me. I also feel like this is kind of destiny because your dream and your goal for bringing this sport to light in Canada, that's something that I have with a burning desire, honestly, and that's what I'm trying to promote mainly. And what you're bringing with your knowledge, with your students, your gym that you opened, it's a long way from where you started, and I really appreciate you coming here and choosing here. So thank you very much.
no, thanks for the introduction. But being honest with you, if you actually absolutely believe in yourself, understand there's going to be hurdles in the way, which you can jump over. You literally can achieve. Especially, look, being from England, but you're from Canada or America or Holland, France, those sort of countries. You do have a chance to really change things if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be issues, there's always going to be all these problems, politics involved, everything like that. But you've got to remember what the core value is, which is what you believe in and what you want to achieve in the end goal, and keep setting yourself targets. So when I came to Canada, I love coaching. I love anything to do with fight sports. I've got a lot of networks over the years and putting things together, but I really love promoting shows and putting shows together. That's something I really am passionate about. It's not an easy business to do at all. Throwing COVID into that mix as well was not easy, but I think now we're in a first full year out of it, and we're starting to see events all over Canada. Eyes are on Canada too. We're seeing UFC now come back, which is great.
Mm.
There's a lot of fighters that fight on my cards from all around Canada that have great exposure,
mm-hmm.
and are just happy to be fighting, happy to be competing regularly. Not just one-off events once a year, or taking silly fights, which I noticed a lot of Canadians did when I first came, is they took fights just because they wanted to fight.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the gym all the time, grafting away, and they took the wrong fights. But I understand on the other hand, because they just want to compete. But now they've got a chance now to actually build up a career, being entertaining fights, but the right fights at the right level, well-matched fights. And then eventually from grassroots up, we can hopefully see some real high-level elite Muay Thai fighters, especially in Canada.
I think that's absolutely going to happen, especially with this year. I've kind of thought this year as a year of the fight fan, simple and easy to keep integrity, because the main thing is telling the story of the athletes. I think the story of the athletes is one of the main things that can inspire people, and through that, it's a full circle, because that gives people the power to get back up after they've been knocked down. That's one of the things I think I've spoken with every person that I've had on here is how much their story helps people, because I know for myself, I've been brought up so much by seeing these guys, and especially talking with them about their mindsets. What I keep in my head every day now is talking with Regan Ursel. He took a knee to the face defending his title, dropped him, he was like KO'd and stood up. And I think about that when I stub my toe, just like small things just to help you get through. And
well, Regan Ursel is a special fighter. I actually saw him fight in China. It's got to be 7 or 8 years ago. I had a student fight on one of the Wing Lung Fun shows, WLF shows, and he got dropped. Got dropped by this Chinese fighter that was strong, built like a tank. He got dropped. All the audience stood up, because obviously the hometown guy. Mm-hmm. Regan got up, bit on his mouthpiece, and just went to town on this guy and put him down 3 or 4 times. Fight was over. And I remember seeing him going, wow, this guy's got some recovery rate. And he's done it a couple of times in one where he's got put down, maybe a bit of a slow start, and then he sort of goes right. But he's got so much of a groove now going, fighting in Muay Thai, fighting in kickboxing, making a name for himself.
That
And he's a real nice guy. His coach is nice. But going back to that fighter's mindset thing, a lot of it is, and the fighters that you spoke to and the fighters that you will speak to, they're very blue collar. A lot of these guys, they don't come for much, right? So this means everything to them. So if you really have that mindset of it, this means everything, no matter what's in front of you. You get put down, you have to get up, right? And it can come to a point when these blue collar guys, they get to a level where they get too comfortable, right? So that's why I appreciate people like Floyd Mayweather, still doing exhibition bouts, 47, 48. His mindset is legacy now, but he still has that blue collar from the streets mindset, right? And his guy's worth 500-600 million. And I have to appreciate the guy because of that. He still gets up at 3 a.m. running. I know he's only doing exhibition bouts now, but what a great fighter he was.
Oh, absolutely impressive. And it's funny. I was speaking with Tom Loeffler, and he said that Floyd's record put a damper on boxing, just trying to keep that perfect record, and how much that other promotions have tried to keep their fighters with a perfect record by giving them lesser opponents.
Yeah, I think this happens. Like, boxing is, if you lose 2 or 3 times, it can mean the end of your career. I think a lot of that has changed now. If you're in exciting fights, you still get the pay-per-views. You also have, on the MMA scene, guys on the amateur scene who then turn pro. They're very select their fights because they really want to get into UFC or Bellator, before that level. So that also happens on a sort of lower level in MMA also. And that's why I appreciate Muay Thai a lot, because if you're in an exciting fight, no problem, you can fight again next month. That's what it's all about. Very, very different.
I I watched that fight, Liam Harrison against Muay Thai, and
Oh yeah,
oh my goodness, 5 drops in one round. You don't see that in any
nuts,
other kind of sport. And people
nuts.
are aware of this. If I say those names up here, they don't know, and
No,
it's truly disappointing, because that effort, and seeing that, and seeing Liam's face after getting the win, and even Muay Thai as well, and just how both of them, that's cemented in combat sports history forever, especially in Muay Thai.
well, that was. I mean, I was watching that live, and I was just going, "Come on, Liam!" And then, of course, he got caught with a head kick first, I think. And I thought, "Geez, like this is not going to end too well." And then, boom, he just pulled it out. Muay Thai, in my opinion, smothered Liam, and Liam loves the dog fights. He loves to swing, right?
Yeah,
So he got into his zone, and Liam just bang, 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 just landed with some punches, and he just flips. I couldn't believe it. And then, of course, how he ended it, I was just like, fair play to that man. Fair
absolutely.
play to that man. And he got the bonus, which, there isn't particularly, especially from my era before, there was no money really in Muay Thai. But now he got a big bonus, I think a double bonus. And he walks away a happy man in one of the greatest fights you'll see, or greatest rounds you'll see in fight history. And he walked away with nice bonus, and that's what he deserves for his legacy, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the not just for praise sake, but for just a pure appreciation sake for the technicality of the sport. It's purely incredible. And for people that aren't aware, you've trained, Liam. You've trained 22. We have 22 world champions, I believe.
I haven't trained Liam, by the way. I haven't
Oh,
trained
you
Liam.
have? Okay, I'm sorry about
No,
that.
yeah, no. I trained. So Liam has fought on my show before, Muay Thai Grand Prix, when I used to own Muay Thai Grand Prix in England. And he fought one of my students called Charlie Peters. And it was about 3 weeks before I came to Canada. It was my last promotional event and my last time as a coach, as a fighter, for a fighter, sorry. 3 weeks before. Charlie beat Liam. It was a real Battle of Britain fight. Fantastic atmosphere. Liam's a friend of mine, and obviously Charlie's was my student for 12 years up to that, and we built him up to UK #1 and a multiple times world champion, and it made history for Britain as that fight that happened, #1 versus #2. And these are the fights that should happen all the time, number one versus number two.
Mhm.
And fair play to Liam, he gave Charlie the opportunity. It was a couple of years in the making, so it was good for a promotional point of view because we could build up a story. But no, I've not trained him. It's Charlie. If you watch the fight on YouTube, it was coming up 5 years on this July. Yeah, it's a good fight. Great fight between the two.
Very nice. And so you came to Canada. Was it about 5 years ago?
5 years in August. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, not really that long.
Yeah.
In terms, but it's gone so quick. So
Mhm.
much has happened. A lot of up and downs. It's not all been, roses and rainbows and all of that sort of thing. Being in a different country, especially for a short time when COVID hit, was extremely difficult. Especially in my industry, which is two things, which is obviously running and coaching a gym, and then of course promotional point of view.
Mhm.
So financially, it was like, woo.
Yeah.
It weren't easy. And then I was applying for to become a resident, and they usually take between 6 and 8 months off a work permit, but this took 22 months because of COVID. And what that means is that
Yes.
it means I couldn't leave the country, one, because otherwise it would have to reset everything. Two, I was just in midst buying my house, and everything changes from a work permit to a residence. That, and then of course I wouldn't get the normal support of what a resident of Canada would get because I was on a work permit.
Mm,
And I have a family with 3 kids too, so I was like, oh my god, have I made the right choice? you
absolutely.
know do I go back and just come back later on? And no one knew what was going to happen, to be honest. When COVID first happened, I was like, oh, this will be over in a week, 2 weeks, because
Hmm.
I was in Thailand when SARS happened. And you know, we didn't really know much about it then because it wasn't so much social media as such. And that seemed to have passed pretty quickly in terms of in the media, in and out, and everyone was back to normality. But I presumed it would be a couple of weeks and it would be over. So, and it just kept going on and on and on, as you know, and everybody got affected differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, restaurants just destroyed, and you have the same thing. But this kind of slingshotted the launch, honestly, of combat sports in Canada. This kind of lull, this kind of eye of the storm, as sad as and horrific as the plague was, and still is, and how it affected everyone. It kind of added this just lull, this damp, like just nothing was going on, and especially up here. You spoke on, we are definitely behind, especially especially in Muay Thai and kickboxing and those sports as well. They're not covered as well. They're not as appreciated as much, and even in MMA, Bellator, One Championship. The only thing you're truly hearing about on any kind of headlines are the world title fights. Alex Volkanovski, Adesanya, those even barely are getting main coverage. So I
Well,
think UFC coming to Canada, this is going to help launch that with your charity bash coming. That's going to help launch that with Adrian opening the academy here with Petch training for his title
yeah,
defense here. They want to have champions out of that gym, Olympians out of that gym. They're like requesting fighters to come, and if they work with you, they'll sponsor you. And this is happening all over the country. And they're like, this is a really big year for combat sports.
there's a boom. There's 100% a boom. And I've said from the beginning, what needs to happen is there needs to be a star from Canada.
Mm,
Hopefully, there's more in each field. There's at least one or two stars. That's what you need, is to create a star that obviously has the personality, obviously can fight, um, can sell himself and market himself well. But you need to create a star. And being honest with you, in Canada, the last star was GSP. You've not
absolutely.
had a star since. You,
Uh,
you you had Rory McDonald, of course, who's an amazing fighter, but he never really made it in terms of like on the worldwide scene. And then it's not been a star since. So
mhm,
I think MMA, I think boxing, Muay Thai, they
mhm.
all need a star each from Canada to make it known that we're here. It's getting there. That's why I've tried to do I'm working on nationals, which is an amateur circuit for kids as well, to try and get these 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 year olds in. Because I always tell this story. You might like this story. I'm sure you'll appreciate it. When I first came to Canada for a show in 2015, before I moved here. It was a real cool crowd. There was 600-700 people. It was in a casino in Calgary. I had a guy fighting. And when I came back in 2017, I was doing a little bit more research now because I wanted to immigrate. And I always tell this story that when I first came, if I was to sit and watch an event in Calgary to start with, and I brought my son with me, who at the time was 4 years old, and he turned around and said, "Hey, Daddy," this goes to any father or mother, and they turn around and say, "Hey, I really want to do this for a career," I would have probably said then, there's no point. Because you look at basketball, football, soccer, hockey, they all have programs going on for youth. They have regular competitions going on, which then goes on to sponsorships and TV coverage or stream coverage. There's none of that was happening. Fast forward 5 years, if anyone takes their kid, sits down and watches an event, let's just say they watch a Muay Thai World Cup, they turn around, they can now see there's a program and a system set. So now it's like it warms my heart up a little bit where a 10, 11, 12-year-old can now turn around and say, right, I want to join a gym. There's a program now, which is the nationals for kids to compete at. We've got a Muay Thai World Cup juniors, which Kyle Messenger, who's a former fighter of mine also at Elites, he's got his own show. So now there's a program for kids to compete regularly, which you're going to see then in the next 3 to 5 years. These kids are going to become stars and they're going to have experience, because we're getting 16, 17, 18-year-olds just starting training at then and then just learning how to compete. And if you go to like England, for example, for a fight called John Haggerty, who's fighting for the one championship title on Saturday against Nong O, he started when he was 5, 6, 7. And he had 50, 60, 70, 80 junior fights by the time he was 15, 16. And that's our target. So these kids that are coming through these nationals and small events, regular events, are now realizing there could be a chance to actually make a career of it. And that is the goal. That's the goal from start to finish.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. That's what Adrian is pushing and Petra are pushing, especially out of that academy. They're offering free first classes for kids to come in and for their parents to come in. They offer a really fun environment for that, and they really give the kids a good workout. But again, that's part of their main thing. And I think you and Adrian have met in the past. Adrian,
oddly enough, Adrian was actually born and raised in a town next to me where I'm from in England, oddly enough. And in a small world, he trained a couple of times with my first ever Muay Thai coach. Very weird. And then when I first met him, I actually met him. He actually brought a tie over for my Muay Thai Grand Prix. We did a tournament once, and I met him very briefly then. And then when I met him again, because he had his son fighting on one of our shows,
great, yeah.
He sounds and speaks like me. And I was like, where are you from? And then we start talking. It's just a strange, martial arts is such a strange, small world. And I know Adrian now is going to take over Vancouver. Let me tell you. He's driven. He's driven. He's got a good heart. That's the big thing. He's brought in Petch. He's got a really good business partner. And I think you're going to hear a lot more things, and fighters. It'd probably take a couple of years for fighters to really come through, develop through. But I think in the next 18 months to 2 years onwards, you're going to start really hearing about that gym.
Your first trainer, was it Grandmaster Skren?
No. My first coach was actually Sean Toomey, his name was. So what happened is I was 12 years old, so 1992. That's how old I am now. What happened is my brother was training in Manchester in England. And he called up the house phone in those days, of course, no mobiles then, and then said to my mum, hey, get Kieran involved in Muay Thai. He's going to love it. Try and find a local club. So we found a local club. It was once a week. And I went. And I actually, to be fair, it was all right. It wasn't a lot of fighters would tell you, when I first walked in the gym, I was buzzing. This is what I wanted to do the rest of my life. 12. It was a bit different for me. I walked in the gym. I was playing football, soccer a lot of times. I had quite a social circle of a lot of friends and those sort of things. So I went once a week, And the coach, Sean, said, "Oh, you've got like really good power in your hands, and you should keep it up." I sort of went in and out for a couple of years, and then Sean had left the gym, and my brother had came and left and graduated from university, and then came down and then overtook the gym. So I was now nearly 15, and I was training a little bit more intense, 2-3 times a week then, because those times we never really had many full-time gyms, especially in London. And I had my first bout. And even then, I wasn't really thinking about this could be a career move for me. I was just, it's pretty cool, have a fight. That was a normal thing in our area. Everyone had fights. And then it wasn't until I was about 16 or 17, and I turned pro at 15. But when I was about 16 or 17, and my brother had started promoting with Sean, actually, and there was a bit more momentum growing. Now we're having 800,000 people at an event, 1,200 people at an event. And I started winning fights, and I won an English title when I was 17. And there's a little story with it. Afterwards, all these other gyms are like, "Hey, Kieran, when you're fighting next, and you're really good, and I think you've got good skills and stuff." And I was like, wow. It wasn't until then sort of the penny dropped and said, maybe I could do this. I really enjoy this. I really, really enjoy this. I was working in London at the time, so I quit my job at 18, and then started coaching full-time at 18 and trying to fight as much as possible. Tried to travel the world as much as possible. I lived in Thailand for multiple years in my 20s, and things just fell into place a lot of the time during the fight career. And I look back at my fight career, and it was over in a snap of the fingers. Yeah. But what a journey it was. So many different countries fighting in, living in Thailand for multiple years. I've still got friends for life from it, and again, those times going back to it was never really financially what it is or can be now, with one championship every week, doing shows with exposure. And now you can actually go to Thailand if you're at a good level. You can actually get sponsored by the gym, which is including the accommodation, food, training. I never had that. So I had to pay my own way. So I had sponsors, and I was coaching just to make some money, and, not going out on a Friday night, those sort of things, which I always wanted to, because I do like a drink after a fight. And so I had to commit to do it. So that's basically like my journey into the fighting and how that began. And I did, like I said, I remember being 18 years old. I had knocked out a guy in the 5th round, and the crowd were going crazy. And I always had like, our gym had a good following. So I remember where all my crowd and family and friends were sitting, and they were just jumping up and down. And I thought, that's cool. It's a real good feeling. And I remember looking up, and I had these sort of like bleachers high up, and there was this crowd just going crazy. And I was like, I don't recognize any one of those guys. Right. So a week or 2 weeks later, where that venue was, I met someone for a couple of drinks, just to have a bit of lunch with and stuff. And I walked into this pub, and the guy had recognized me. I went, "Oh, you're Kieran, aren't you? You fought 2 weeks ago and knocked that guy out." And I was like, yeah, I didn't know who he was. He said, "Oh, I'm with my friends. We all watched you. We're big fans." So I sat down with him, and it was actually, I was due to meet a girl then, right? It was like her first or second date, I can't remember. And she walked in the pub 30 minutes later, and I was literally half drunk because everyone was buying me drinks. And she was like, "Have you been here before?" I said, "No, they just recognized me from a fight 2 weeks ago." So things like that, those mini stories are really what like drawed me to the game of just being in the gym, friends for life. Of course, I love fighting. I love trying to be in the big fights. I love traveling the world, but the friendships for life and the networking, which I have now into promoting because of that, is it's just an incredible journey.
Absolutely. And it's definitely people that, there's not really too much fat to them, like metaphorically, honestly. What you see is what you get. There's not really a lot of bullshit behind them. Most of them are, like you said, blue collar, and just that community, as well as they really care about each other. So you said you're a good fighter, you're a great coach. You said you're never the best, but you say you're an even better promoter, and you say that's where your heart lies. And I think that's from like really being able to help these fighters out, give them a platform, help them out. And again, that kind of goes back to, helping tell their story as well.
That's exactly it.
Luke Skywalker, Luke Whelan, I believe, is his last
Oh
name.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was he was a
He just
student of
won
mine
on
for 10 years.
he just won the belt for Hitman, right? The Hitman
That's
fight
right.
league in Williams. Yeah, he's doing excellent. I just chatted with him this morning. I'm gonna be chatting with him next week.
Awesome.
Yeah. So just really trying to get these guys and bring that kind of that audience. Give them that those eyes. So this
Yeah,
past
Luke's a great guy. So Luke joined me when he was about 18 or 19 years old, I think. Yes, and he was competing sort of an amateur level at another gym, and he came over, started sparring with some of my guys, and then we formed the team up, and he started training under me, and I started getting him loads of fights, and me and him, because he was more of a K1 kickboxing rules fighter than a Muay Thai fighter. And he understood the game, obviously, with the slight differences between Muay Thai and kickboxing. So he had a lot of fights. We went to France, we went to Holland, he fought in Japan, he fought in Eastern Europe, Slovakia, Slovenia. And what he done is he was like a road warrior, to be fair. His learning was done on the road in heavy fights and hard fights. And he used to fight a lot. Like him, Charlie, and his brother Jamie. They were the three sort of solid guys. I'd call them up and say, right, I've got you a fight in 2 weeks, and it's in Italy. Let's go. And we'd go, and they learned so much from those fights, those last minute changes to rules changes to being ripped off, robbed, to taking the harder fights sometimes, but really, really learning. Abu Dhabi is another country he fought into. He's fought all around the world, Luke, and he learned so much. And now he's a fighter / coach. He's learned so much from those travels that we had, and now he's becoming his own. He's becoming his own as a coach, which is great. He's got a great little team. Some of the guys are from what I used to coach as kids now that have become that adults. They've joined him too, which is really good to see. So, and again, he won on the weekend, so he's managing to balance between coaching and fighting, which is really difficult to do. And I think he's still got a good few more years left.
He looked excellent, and it's really nice to see that belt on him. That's
oh
pretty,
yeah.
So you said it was an absolutely difficult process just building Muay Thai World Cup, especially here from the beginning as well. But this last one, you got the best reception yet so far. You said it was the highest pay-per-view viewing, broke the record for that. I think like Tom just said as well, for his past promotion, they just broke their record for their Hollywood Fight Night on UFC Fight Pass. So these things are just like we said, it's just exploding here, and 125-pound women division getting knockouts in the first round.
I tell you, those little gloves in Muay Thai make so much of a difference. It's a lot to do with the distancing and learning about the little gloves and the defense, because you can defend with the 8-ounce or 10-ounce gloves completely different what you can for the MMA gloves. So yeah, you're getting hits on the back of the head, and like I said, your range has got to be different. So all those guys who fought, bar I think 2, have never fought in their 4-ounce gloves before. So it makes a lot of a difference in everything. But it made it an exciting show. And going back to Muay Thai World Cup, when I first came and said I was going to do this show, I had a lot of people, no names mentioned, that said, you can't do it. You won't be able to do it because there's too much politics. This person will try and stop you. It costs this much to promote a show. It costs this much for the commission. The commission don't allow this, don't allow that. I said, well, let me have a go, at least. And it was actually quite nice because 3 of the 4 people actually now put their fighters on my shows or work with me. And I don't blame them. Like, in the past, I think a lot of people have come with promise and not delivered. And I just always said that success just defeats everything, all the negativity, and being successful, the show got bigger. Fighters were really happy fighting on the show. They were looked after. We brought WBC into the mold, and WBC exposed Canada and put that on a platform. And then we got the One Championship deal. It brought it up another level. And Muay Thai World Cup's in a really good place at the moment, healthy position.
It's looking really healthy, and you've said you have to take opportunity. You've done events back to back to back for weekends and had to take those opportunities. Even like Tate said in the past, honestly, like speed beats everything.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take a week to get back to you. I'm gonna get back to you within 2 minutes. It takes 2 minutes to
Yes.
contact someone or get information. There's no point in
Absolutely.
making anyone wait, especially if you're able to get that done now and get back to that person. And also, there isn't a limit in this market up here. There's no limit because there's an almost, I don't want to say endless, but there's so many fighters that aren't getting their story told.
Yes.
I spoke with half a dozen of the fighters on 360 Promotions card, and I'll be speaking with all of them, including Gabriel Silva, Anderson Silva's son.
Nice.
There's not a lot of people really truly giving these guys this story, and even after his pro debut as well, you'd think I would love to see that in the news. That's excellent for combat sports, and it's excellent to give kids and young guys that boost of like, wow, the Spider, the GOAT, one of the greatest of all time. His son is making his debut after amateur kickboxing.
Yeah, it's also about though being able to push yourself and believe in yourself. Yeah,
Mhm,
I know it's difficult, and I've
mhm,
had countless conversations with fighters about they can't balance between training. Obviously, a lot of them work too, or have family, or have their private life, and then they've got to try and sell themselves to put eyeballs on the screens or bums on seats. It's really hard to balance. But if you really believe that you could be the best of the best, you've
mhm.
got to be able to manage all that. I say to the fighters that come into the gym, if you have a personal matter or a problem outside of the gym, don't bring it into the gym. Cut off. Deal with it. Deal with it outside the gym. Focus. You think that I suppose the highest guy of that regard would probably be Conor McGregor. How he can deal with his family. Of course, he's getting paid now, but at the time he wasn't when he rose to fame. How he juggled everything, and then compete at a high level. You have to take your hat off to a guy like that. But
And
there's lots of notes to take from that. There's lots of notes to take from that. Don't expect it to happen. Go and
mhm,
grab it. Go and get it. And I
mhm.
think a lot of people go, "Oh well, I'll just do what I do." And it is difficult because some people don't have that persona to push. Like you don't have to be the bad guy all the time, right? But just market yourself, connect with good people, do little videos when you can,
Mm.
interviews when you can, push yourself out as much as you humanly possible can do. And again, it's still rolling a dice at the table because it's no guarantee, of course, that it will pay off, but it's worth the gamble.
And yeah, especially I think the high level and the ones with integrity recognize the other high level athletes and ones with integrity as well. And no matter, like, you're not guaranteed if you are sticking to what you believe in and truly believing that you'll make it, because obviously nothing is guaranteed. But I've seen and I know a lot more people with a never quit attitude and without like no limit attitude that are making it a lot farther. And even if they aren't, they're still having a good attitude with moving forward. I was just speaking with
Yeah.
Adam Little, the co-main event of BKFC this weekend after I spoke with Bostwick. And I asked both of them, Max Holloway going into his fight just recently, he was fighting Arnold Allen.
Arnie Allen. Yeah.
Yeah. And so obviously we know about what people were saying about Max Holloway losing 3 times to Volkanovski. You get a little bit written off, and going into that fight again, how he was going in with Calvin Kattar, people saying like, "Oh, the opposition is the best boxer." Even his opponent was saying that they are a superior boxer than Holloway is. And Holloway brought up his mentality of an 0-0 mentality, where he goes into each fight with that, an 0-0 mentality where it's fresh. And Bostwick's look on that was it was fresh, and he said, I never thought of that. You have to look good, you have to maintain, you have to be safe, get the win, and make a statement. And I spoke with Doolittle about that, and he had a different opinion. I was expecting the same answer, and he said, that's good, and you can also go into it with an 0-1 mentality. So that's like that almost sounded like an even hungrier version of the Holloway mentality as well. It was pretty cool to get those perspectives from.
Mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously Jake is another student of mine, and the boy's a beast. The boy's an animal, and he's a heart on sleeve guy. Heart and sleeve guy that very emotionally driven, and boy does he have some power when he lands. And he's another one who's had a very interesting martial arts journey, up and down. He's fought at 210 pounds down to 170 pounds.
16 years old debut.
Yeah, he so basically what happened is he was in a gym training, and I was like, his record at the time was something like 3 wins and 6 or 7 losses. And I saw him, he was doing some partner drills, just doing some low kick partner drills. And I remember it very clearly. And I turned around and went, how have you ever lost a fight? You're so powerful, you're so strong, you're quick, you look the part. And reality was that he never had a coach behind him or a target. It was just taking fights whenever he could, etc. So an interesting story. He then went on a 13 or 14 win streak when he teamed up with me, which was awesome. And we were pushing for UFC, we were pushing for Bellator. He moved to ATT a lot of the times to do some training out there to up his game and move around with elite fighters. And he took a fight in Russia. And in a nutshell, he needed the finances at the time. And I remember he went over with his coach from the States. I think actually they got denied their visa. So Jake could get through, and his dad ended up doing the corner. And it was a bit of a dicey fight. I can't remember the name of the promotion. It was a Russian promotion, a really big promotion. And anyway, it was a heavier weight, of course, and Jake's got no fear. That's what you got to love about that guy. No fear. And they're both weighed in. I was looking at the weigh-in over the stream and stuff, and they both looked relatively. I mean, the guy looked a little bit bigger, but not too much. Anyway, next day I was watching the pay-per-view, and the guy looked twice the size of him. And I remember Jake landing this boom snap jab, and the guy didn't even move. And the guy just sort of mauled him, got on top of him, and put Jake down. Can't remember what he put him down with, and the fight was off. And I felt so sad for Jake because he was so close to being signed from one of the big companies, right? The big events. But that's his journey, and he's fought kickboxing, he's fought Muay Thai, he's fought boxing, unlicensed boxing, he's done charity boxing, MMA, of course. And now he's doing bare knuckle boxing. The guy loves it, absolutely lives for it. And I think he's found his groove with BKFC. That's me. Ever had a dream, low key, that you wanna see, homie, I bet you did. My self-esteem been draining me. I'm patiently waiting to get a stage like free parking. I be set, I expect monopolies. They'll be gossiping constantly about my sets. Yeah, I'm passing go with no way to invest. Holding purple till I'm dead. That's me. And I'm sorry for that, yeah. I'm sorry for that, yeah. That's me. Ever had a problem unseen quietly? Hoping this a dream, sorry.